Hi, and thanks for joining my webinar today. I'm excited about this topic. Does it matter what tool you use for a successful retirement? Over the next 35 minutes or so, we're going to be going into all the different instruments and strategies about retirement and which one could be successful and which one could potentially hurt you going forward. And I'm really excited about this presentation. So thanks for joining us on this one here. My name is Dolph Janis. I am an educator first and an advisor second. I wrote a book, Cross the Bridge to Retirement. If you're interested in receiving this book, either a PDF copy or a original copy, there's on the right-hand side, just shoot us an email, a text, or a question, and we'd be more than happy to send it to you. You'll also notice anytime during the presentation, if you want to ask a question, I will get to those right after the presentation. So get a lot of questions throughout my webinars over the last several weeks. And if you want to see any more of the webinars we're doing, you can sign up at them at donotlosemoney.com. Once again, I started in this industry in 2004, but before that, I had quite the storied past, everywhere from law enforcement to professional golf. But why did I get into this industry? And if you've listened to my other webinars, you've heard the story, and I'll keep it brief. But I used to be a dealer out in Nevada, car dealer, not a drug dealer, obviously. And I enjoyed it so much, the action, the people doing that. When it comes to Nevada and gambling, it's like never gamble what you can afford to lose. You can't afford to lose. And I see a lot of people became friends with a lot of them. But Brandon Thomas is one that sticks out all the time. And he'd come in and he kept on losing and losing and losing. And that feeling of like, I'm making money because he's tipping, but he's losing money. And I said, this is great, but it's not good for him. And we became friends and over the years. And when I got out of the casino business, I said, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do something where people don't lose money. I'm going to educate people on the best way to make money is not to lose money. And that got me into the industry 16, 17 years ago. And I've stuck to the guns. And I said, I love doing these webinars and I hope you enjoy this one right away for it. Like I said, I've been featured on Forbes several times, Money, Fortune, all these other publications, had a radio show for almost 11 years, put it on pause during COVID. For protocol reasons for the studio and being within the 6 feet and all that stuff there. But anytime you want to read any of these articles, you can go to our website at clearincomeforlife.com to learn about those. Now let's get into what we're talking about today, like retirement. The important thing is, but wait a second, we got a screen full of gardening tools. We got a screen full of lawn tools and so forth. And these are tools that everybody has out there and a lot of people use on a daily basis. But these tools are all designed for a specific reason: blowing leaves, planting, cutting the grass, and so forth. I mean, about 2 weeks ago, we had a tree stump in my backyard, and it wasn't that big. My wife said, "Hey, can you get that thing down? Can you dig that thing out of the ground?" I said, "Sure, no problem." And so I took a shovel and I started hacking away at the shovel, and like the tree trunk wasn't moving, little bits and pieces were there. So I tried different instruments. I tried different tools to try to get this darn thing out. When if I would have just got up and gone to Home Depot and bought a stump remover or something designed for that, that tool would have gotten me done. I mean, yes, a lot of these tools will get the job done for you, but do you really want to cut the grass with a spring trimmer, with a trimmer? I mean, how much longer is it going to take, and will it last, and will it go on going forward? Every tool out there in this world we live in has a specific reason, and finding the right reason for that tool is so important. So when you look at all these tools, is yeah, they're going to work. Yeah, they might get the job done, but why not just do it the easy way and sit back and relax? And that's what this presentation about is opening your mind to different options that are out there for you going forward. The agenda today, we're going to talk about the risks, the 7 biggest risks in retirement, retirement by the numbers, the importance of diversification, what the difference between actual and average returns is, dependency on yourself, and guaranteed income. One of the biggest things everybody wants in this world is never to run out of money. So what is the most important thing your money covers in retirement? Just think about that for a second. Ask your spouse later on, ask your people, and every day when you wake up, what is the most important thing that your money covers in retirement? It's a very important question. But look at the risks out there. The more risks you have out there, the bigger things come. And longevity, which we'll cover later today, is the biggest risk in retirement because nobody really knows how long they're going to live. I mean, it's the one question a lot of people can't answer. But you have risk of healthcare, you have risk of inflation, Social Security, and the unknowns there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Taxes. Well, we have all seen the potential tax rates coming up with that. Sequence return. When you retire, depending on where your money is at, how is your money going to perform? Withdrawal rate. These are all the 7 biggest risks I personally find in retirement from talking to a slew of clients and prospects throughout my years. These are the ones that keep on popping up over and over again. So if you look by retirement by the years, let's look at it over a 20-year stretch. When you start, what you don't know how much it's going to cost you. These numbers are going to blow you away. And my dad is an engineer, and he writes everything down to the penny. He's really good about budgeting his money. When he started doing his numbers here, he looked at myself. He said, "Son, there is no way that we're going to spend $219,000 in food. It just isn't going to happen." And then we started breaking down 3 meals a day, 2 people, $5 a meal, which isn't that much. Go over 30 days, over 10 years. So he's like, "Holy cow, you're right. We're spending a lot of money." So a couple's basic retirement expenses for a 20-year time frame is over $1 million and 58,000 and change. I mean, these are average expenses. Mind you, this is not adjusted for inflation, does not include vacations and entertainment and all that. These are just the basic numbers. I mean, you're looking at 24,000 for food, shelter, your home, and all that. The cost of all that is going to be 335,000. Transportation, one of the biggest risks, one of the biggest costs in retirement. Healthcare, 235,000 plus. These are, and of course, taxes, and these are going up. So when you're looking at your retirement portfolio, that's an average of about $53,000 a year that you need to have for retirement. And that's not taking in inflation once again. Do you have your budget set where you're going to be able to cover that cost going forward? What tool are you going to use to get that $53,000 for the average going there? A lot of people are spending a lot more. A lot of people are spending a lot less. This again is an average. Are you prepared for it? That's the importance of diversification. How diversified is your portfolio? Is your money in stocks? Do you have any annuities? Are you lucky enough to have a pension? Do you have bonds for secure money over there? Do you have CDs? Are you a real estate kind of guy, etc.? These are the diversifications. So which basket is your money in? Is it all in one basket, or is it diversified between several different baskets? Very important. You'll find out why in a little bit, why diversification is good. I'll say 98% of my clients that I work with have 2 advisors, and I encourage 2 advisors. I mean, I encourage the advisor out there that you want to put some money at risk. We're not the risk part, we're the guaranteed side. And that's why diversification of it's okay to like get gas from a different gas station, or do you always have to get gas from that same gas station because you love it? Well, if you need gas from somewhere else, you got to get the gas to get your car running. Now, so many people are out there worried about returns, average return versus actual return. So if you look at year one, the average return went down 50%. So $100,000 became 50. Year two, it went up 50%. So if you look at the average of what it's done, it's zero. Went up 50, down 50, zero. But what's your actual return? You're at 75,000. You're down 25%. So your actual return is negative 25%, not the average return of zero. And that's very important when you're looking at your portfolio of what is your actual return getting during your diversification stages on your portfolio. Don't look, the average is very important, but what is the actual money you're getting? Then, as far as diversification, you got to look at the risk versus reward. And is the risk worth the reward, or is the reward worth the risk? And this is a lot of things of, yes, everything over the last several years has been very well in the market and stuff, and people have been doing. How long will that go? How long do you want to hold on to that? If you had $500,000 and this was your nest egg, and you're retiring in 4 years, if that 500,000 was still worth 500 in 4 years, how would you feel? Well, I didn't lose anything. If it was worth 700, or if it was worth 300, how would you feel? Ooh, I lost money, or I might have to continue to work. So everything you look at in your life is risk versus reward. Imagine you're coming to a stoplight and you're driving, let's just say, a standard Toyota, whatever you want to be, a Mercedes, it doesn't matter. You're driving a non-huge beast of a car, and the light turns green. What do? Most people say, "Dolph, I'm going." I say, "Well, don't you want to look both ways to see what's happening first?" Well, sometimes I do. Well, let's just say you peek out of your right eye and there's an F-150 or a truck just beaming. They're like, "I'm going to run this light." Are you going to take that risk to try to beat that truck? What's your reward? You save 5 or 10 seconds, or you get crushed and then boom, it's all gone. Think about how you want your risk level to go in retirement. Unknown versus guaranteed. Again, we're going to go back to your whole portfolio. Excuse me. What is the unknown returns, And what is that unknown money going to provide versus the guaranteed money that you know it's going to provide? Risk versus reward. Boom. It's the teeter-totter effect. A lot of people don't have that unknown. It's like, okay, I'm going to retire in 6 years. And it's like, well, I'm going to get there in 6 years. Well, it's unknown because you don't know what your money's going to be doing that. Where if you had a portion of your money set aside for income and you knew what it was going to be in 6 years, you can plan on that. I had a great couple, Greg and Leslie, I worked with a few years ago, and they came to me on a Saturday, spent several hours with them, and they were like, Dolph, we're hoping to retire in 4 years. And we met like 3 Saturdays in a row where we don't know what we're going to have. We think we're going to have this. And I said, what if we can retire in 2 years and have a ton of money left over? Would that interest you? Well, of course. Show the strategy, show the plan, and boom, guess what? They retired in a year, and 18 months later, they were retired, and they're happier in retirement. I follow up with them every month or two and just talk to them. It's so enjoyable getting people to retire beforehand. Don't be afraid to take the next step. An article I wrote in Forbes, the hardest day of your life is the day you retire. Had multi-million hits and people viewing that stuff because it is a tough day going forward for you. Because in retirement, you got two types of money you got to go for. What do you need your retirement money to do? And what do you want your retirement money to do? It's going back and forth. Well, I need my money to cover certain expenses. You need it to pay home expenses. You need to pay your living expenses. You need to pay your medical expenses. Those are the things you need to cover. The things you want to do, of course, like everybody, is you want to travel. You might want to buy a boat. You might want to join a country club. You might want to see the grandkids all the time. You might want to join this, that, and the other. But if your needs are not covered in retirement, how are you going to get to enjoy your wants? And if you just go straight to the wants, you have a very good chance of you're not going to have any money in several years to be able to take care of either or. And you wanted to do that. We'll talk about dependency here in a few minutes. But take your money into consideration. Let's get your needs. Let's get the needs takeover. Well, your needs are $40,000 a year. Well, darn it, let's get the $40,000 a year covered for guaranteed lifetime income with a buffer and an inflation buffer on top of that. So when you come into income, which is what we talk about again, I said I'm an income strategist. It's one of the favorite things I like to do, is how much money will you have when you retire? And then how much money will you need when you retire? And then the last and the most important question is, how will your money last? How long will your money last? That's a very important question because when you're looking at retirement, a lot of people say, well, my magic number is 2 million or my magic number is 600,000. Well, we already saw that over almost 1.1 million is the average cost for a married couple in retirement. Doesn't mean you have to have 1.1 million. It's meaning you have to live within your means. And how much will you need when you retire? That's the question of how the income portion of it. What do you need? I mean, you could have, I've had a lot of clients have more money they know what to do with, but they're not spending it because they're afraid to run out of it. But they got the income covered, then everything else falls right into place. Because that comes to the dependency part. How do you want to be when you get in retirement? Do you want to be dependent on your family to take care of you? Do you want to be dependent on a retirement home to take care of you? Or do you want to take care of yourself? I mean, how do you feel on yourself if you're 85, 90 years old or 80, 85, whatever it might be down the road? Do you want to be dependent on people? I've seen people live in nursing homes and they've never been happier. I've seen people live with family members, but are you stressing out your family by doing this or just doing it yourself? I mean, I have a client that lives up in New York. She's 104 years old, still living on her own, still driving, and as smart as a whip. It's enjoyable watching it. And I have other clients, unfortunately, that they lost a spouse and they have to live in a home because they can't take care of themselves because they lost that other person. And then there's other people that don't have family. So when you're looking at your money, make sure you're dependent for yourself. You want to take care of yourself. You really don't want to have the kids. I know if you have kids out there, I know you spend a lot of money on the kids. You've been on the payroll for a long time. And you're like, well, it's time for them to return the favor. Well, remember when your parents were still alive and you were depending on them, do you want your kids to go through the same thing? Some people yes, some people no. So now we're getting the meat of it, the sources of income in retirement. So where is your money going to come to when you retire? Is it going to come from the stock market? Is it going to come from annuities? Is it going to come from pensions, bonds, CDs, real estate, money market, commodities? These are good things that are out there. Social Security, another one we didn't put on the list, but these are places where you're going to take your money, which is great. Let's say you had all 8 of these right there on the screen. You have 8 different sources of income. How long are they going to last depends on what you have them working with. And that's a key going forward. Because the common income sources out there, I mean, Social Security, which is generally your most biggest asset out there if you think about it. Because let's say you're collecting $25,000 a year in Social Security. In 20 years, you've collected $500,000. Now, if you're married, that's $1,000,000. Is anything you have else worth $1,000,000? Retirement accounts, 401ks, 403bs, your traditional IRAs and Roths and simple IRAs. Great, another source of diversification, another income source. Pensions, if you're lucky to have one, there, as long as they don't default, you still have the pensions for in some. Real estate, rental properties. A lot of people love rental properties. Inheritance, if you get money inherited from a loved one or a family member. Dividends, annuities, part-time work. These are all common sources of income going forward. Where are you at on this list? How many of these are you be counting on going forward in retirement? And this is where we go between unknown and guaranteed. Non-guaranteed income, meaning that you can't guarantee that this money will last for the rest of your life unless you don't spend it, of course, and you live in your house, you never leave the house, and so. But stocks is not guaranteed for life. Bonds, real estate, CDs, 401ks, 403bs, rental properties, inheritance, dividends, part-time work. These aren't guaranteed to last you. Yes, they could provide you an income, but you don't know what it's going to do from year one to year two. I mean, stock market in 2007 goes up 17%. 2008, 2009 goes down 46%. Let's say you're retired there. Your portfolio had a negative 27% between those 3 years. So you might have to adjust your cost of living, adjusting thing. Guaranteed income. There's only 3 sources out there that will pay you a paycheck guaranteed for the rest of your life. Social Security, pensions, and annuities. Again, these are all basically the same thing. You paid money into them throughout your lifetime or throughout whenever you do it, you put money into it. And then in return, they're going to pay you back for as long as you live, and spousal continuation. Boom. Some of the differences between the two is Social Security. If you pass away, your spouse will get the higher of yours and or her Social Security. They don't get both. Pensions, depending on how you set that up, if you just do a single pay, you pass away, that money's gone, or you take less money and the spouse continues it, and if she passes away or he, that money's gone. Annuities, you have the option of setting it up for yourself, and you pass away, the spouse still gets whatever's left over. You take a lifetime income, she can continue it or he can continue it. These are the 3 guaranteed sources of income going on the road. Let's attack one of them, each one of them one by one. Again, these are all different tools we're talking about through the presentation. Social Security. Are you planning on solely relying on Social Security? There is a high percentage. I mean, it's been as high as like 70% in the years that people's main source of income in retirement is Social Security. How are you planning to use Social Security? When I'm working with clients and prospects and creating plans and stuff, my personal theory is Social Security is a supplement to your lifestyle. Let Social Security cover your medical costs along with Medicare and eliminate that one off the board. But then again, if you think about it, with all this stuff happening today, what would you do if Social Security ended? I mean, everybody's always talking about it's dried up. There's a lot of things happening in the United States right now, and not as much money is going into Social Security. So let's just say in 5, 10 years, it dissolves. I don't think Social Security is ever going to go away, personally. That's just my 2 cents. But I do think the arrangements of payments are going to change over the years, which is a very shame for a lot of these people that dumped a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their payments of Social Security, looking for that supplemental check in retirement. So are you relying on it? Are you planning on it? And if you have a backup plan, if something happens to Social Security. Pensions, unfortunately, going away, and if you have one, you're lucky. I know recently we just had St. Patty's Day, and you have luck of the Irish. Well, sometimes people aren't lucky in the Irish, and there's only a few sources of guaranteed income out there, and pensions being one of them. And if you're fortunate enough to have the pension and you got a strong pension company, great. But once again, with pensions, you lose control of the money. I mean, they're just going to pay you a check for the rest of your life. If you need extra money, I'm sorry, it's not available to you. It's like Social Security. A great thing to have if you have one. Hope it stays strong going forward. Annuities, the third source of guaranteed lifetime income. The difference with annuities is you keep control of the money. And people say, well, I hate annuities and stuff. And I'm going to tell you in a few minutes why I hate annuities as well. But also going to tell you in a few minutes why I really love annuities at the same time. There's a good side, bad side to everything in this world. But you're getting the protection. You have the option of guaranteed lifetime income, tax deferred growth, whether it's qualified or non-qualified. That safety of principle, knowing no matter what happens in the market, The only way your value is going to go down is if you have an income rider or you take money out of it. Allows you to add to it with flexible contributions. And again, that guaranteed income, knowing that you're going to guarantee to get that paycheck for the rest of your life, even if the account runs to zero. Is that a bad tool? Really? You're thinking about all these different tools over the last couple things, and you're like, which one is going to provide and fill the space? You're thinking back to that, taking that wood stump out there. Yeah, the shovel was good, and the little saw was good to make it shorter and stuff, but all those together eventually will get that tree trunk out of the ground. But at the same time, which one would do it the quickest and which one would guarantee to get it out of there? That's what the benefit of annuities are, is you take a portion of your money that you want to protect, and it could be right for you. So does it really matter that John and Joe and Jane and Paul and Sam, they hate annuities because they were put into the wrong annuities? Yeah. Why would I want an annuity? There's a grimy face. Why do people talk bad about annuities? Well, I'm going to tell you why. And this is the whole thing of, does it really matter what tool you have if it's good for you? It's not a one size fits all. That's why. Everyone's situation is different. John, James, Paul, Susan, all the ones over there, their situation is different than yours. So, like, look at the fish. It's like they're in the wrong bowls. So if someone puts something in the wrong bowl, it's not the right thing. And so annuities are not good. Annuities are not bad. It depends on how do you want to utilize it in your portfolio. And why are annuities bad? This is what I'm going to tell you why I think they're really bad. You're offered the wrong annuity. Why is someone who is 70 years old put in an annuity that's a 20-year product that they can't touch for 10 to 15 years? Or a variable annuity, or with all the fees and all the different ups and downs of the market, where if you go to a captive agent or an agent who's only giving you one or two options, that's all they know. And they're going to try to convince you that do you want a growth annuity when you need income? Do you want a legacy annuity when you need income? No, the two don't intermingle. I mean, the annuities are broken into 4 different categories. You got annuities for liquidity, you got them for growth, you have them for income and legacy planning. It's not a one size fits all, as I'm at. And I see these people coming in with these annuities that they're like, well, why? I mean, you're 56 years old. Why are you getting something that you're never going to be able to touch, or it's going directly to your kids? I mean, when you need to spend the money for income, I mean, that's what is bad about annuities, and that's what gives them a bad name. Ken Fisher lives on it every day, but if you talk to Mr. Fisher, brilliant guy for the record, and he's got a monster company, but at the same time, he's bashing variable annuities because of the fees, the risk, and the non-guarantees on there. That's what is so bad about annuities, and that's where it hurts my feelings. Is I work with over 36 different companies as an independent, finding the right thing for you. But at the end of the day, it's about protection and guarantees. I'm going to show you this quick little 3-minute video to put a lot of this into perspective going forward for you. So I hope you get to enjoy this, and I'll be back in just a minute.
Retirement. Many of us, when we think about retirement, dream of traveling the world, pursuing our hobbies, volunteering in our community, or getting to spend more time with our family. Of course, the challenge many of us will face as we retire is, how do we make sure our money lasts as long as we do? After all, the goal of retirement is to spend it how we want. To do that, we have to answer one obvious question: just how long do we have to stretch our money for? Back in the 1950s, the average length of retirement for 65-year-old men was 8 years. That's it. Today, retirement looks very different. One of the biggest changes is that we have a higher life expectancy, and living longer means a longer retirement. Life expectancy is defined as the average number of years of life remaining for a group of people at any given age. And to understand just how this impacts our retirement, consider siblings Bill and Jill. At 65, Bill's life expectancy is 89, meaning that if he retires today, he needs to figure out how to make his money last 24 more years. Jill's life expectancy is 90. That's 25 years of retirement. But that's only living to the average life expectancy. Think of it this way. You have 100 men in a room and 100 women in another. Half will live beyond life expectancy and half will live less. Furthermore, 25 out of 100 men can expect to live to age 94. 5 out of 100 could live to 100. 25 out of 100 women can expect to live to age 96. 5 out of 100 could live to 102. As odd as it may sound, living longer than you planned is an actual risk in retirement. We call it longevity risk. And longevity risk makes all of retirement's other risks greater. It's a risk multiplier. Take inflation. Let's say inflation is a constant 3% during your retirement. Today, Bill spends $100 on his groceries, but when he reaches life expectancy, his grocery cost will have more than doubled to $222.13. By age 94, his grocery bill would now be $257.51. That's 2.5 times what it was when he retired. If Bill's income didn't increase in retirement, he would quickly find himself looking for ways to cut his grocery spending. Longevity risk multiplies inflation risk, making Bill's retirement much more challenging. Luckily, there are financial strategies you can use to help reduce longevity risk. Ask your financial professional about the use of various insurance products and financial strategies that might be right for you.
So I hope you enjoyed that 3-minute video, and it puts it in perspective of you don't know how long you're going to live, but longevity increases all that. So what is the most important thing again that your money covers in retirement? Ask yourself this question over and over again, and what you want your money to do going into retirement. Because common income risks, I mean longevity risks, as we talked about, outliving your money, inflation risks, keeping your money up with assets, market risk is potentially experiencing losses due to factors that we don't control. I mean, someone sneezes in China, the market might fall. Risk. I mean, if taxes rise significantly, your income's going to get smaller. Healthcare risk. I mean, we need that. We got to cover ourselves, but health risk is not cheap. Sudden change risk, large expenses that are unforeseen. Something happens. Somebody passes away in your family. You're now a single spouse. That's another risk. Where's that other extra income going to come from? And what if something could take all these risks off the table and take the fear away from all that? Would it be interesting to you? Again, just because one person says it's no good doesn't mean it's not right for you. And that's what we're talking about, tools in retirement. And if you got the right tool in retirement and it provides you what you're looking for, why is that a bad thing? Now, you're probably wondering why you have a car on your screen that says it does mean. This is one, my business coach shared this with me, and I absolutely love it. Is what do you see on the screen? You see a spare tire. What is it? It's a spare tire. It's on the back of the car. Sometimes it's in the seat or underneath the car. Well, what does a spare tire? What does it do? A spare tire is you get a flat tire, you take the other tire, you put it there, and you put the new tire on. Okay, great. Well, what does it mean? It means you're driving down the road with the knowledge and the safety and the comfortability, knowing if you get a flat tire, you have a backup tire there to put it on the car and to go safely. So when you're looking at your retirement, it's like, what is it? What am I in? What does it do? And what does it mean? And yes, annuities are a great portion of out there because it is a protection product. What does it do? It does what you want it to do. Liquidity, growth, income, legacy planning. What does that mean? Peace of mind. If you have peace of mind when it comes to retirement, does it really matter what tool you use to get you there in retirement? And are you willing to gamble away your retirement away for not knowing all your options? And I said, all these different tools out there, they're great for each different person. But again, every person is different. Using the right tool can guide you through and to retirement in a safe way. We offer, like I said, I'm a big time educator. We offer a lot of resources. Please visit, and thank you first again for all those questions I got. I mean, it's gonna be fun answering a lot of those, and some of them are really good. But guardyoursavings.com. I share my information. People say, well, Dolph, why you give away so much stuff? If I can educate you to make the right decision and use the right tool in retirement, no matter what it is, I felt like I've done my job, whether you become a client or not. Education first. If you'd like to schedule a 15-minute consultation over the phone, on Zoom, or a 30-hour in person, or at a destination if you're right, my calendar's right there, calendly.com/Dolph Janis. Available on the weekends. If you need evening hours, or the calendar only allows us to go from 8 to 5. If you need an evening appointment or an early morning appointment or a different weekend time, just ask me. I always make myself always available for you. Disclosure again, I'm not a tax god. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. These are just educational things that we go through from all the different sources we had. Again, I'm Dolph Janis. Thank you so much for taking the last 30 minutes or so to educate yourself on what Doesn't matter what tool you use to have a successful retirement. Take care, stay safe, and God bless.